Welcome again to our academic resilience series. And it is the final session, in fact, for 2022. And final is the key word because this session is entitled Ace Your Finals with Great Strategies from Professors. And there are three great professors here today to share those strategies: Dr. Beth Powers, Dr. Justin Mando, and Dr. Melissa Mullen Davis. So really looking forward to having all of you. Thank you for the gifts of your time and your wisdom. And with that, I'll turn it over to the real creator and force behind this series, Dr. Margaret Mabinjo.
Thank you so much, Anne. I hope that you can all hear me. Again, we are so grateful for you signing up and logging in. Before we start, I would like to just say what I do here at Millersville University. I am an assistant professor. I am an academic advisor. I also coordinate advising for the College of Business and the College of Arts and Humanities. And so we are so grateful that our faculty members that work in different colleges, actually, as they will shortly introduce themselves, are with us today. And so I believe that you are not going to leave this session without some tangible strategies for your finals. And so without further ado, I would like to give this chance to our dear faculty to introduce themselves, tell us what they do, and then we'll begin. And I'm just going to go on the screen to the person that is next to me, Dr. Powers.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Margaret. My name is Beth Powers. I'm in the College of Education and Human Services and the Department of Early, Middle, and Exceptional Education. So I think about teaching and learning every day. And my research, teaching, and service is focused on equity and access. So I'm very interested in diversity and social justice. And this is not my first job out of graduate school. I worked at a different institution and the kids were great there, but the students here are the best. So I'll pass it on at that.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's go to Dr. Mando.
Hi, everyone. I'm Justin Mando. I'm from the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, Department of English and World Languages. I'm an associate professor in the department that focuses on writing. I'm in the Writing Studies program. I teach classes like science writing, technical writing. I have environmental writing classes, English 110, your first year writing classes. All that kind of stuff is under my umbrella. And we really take a rhetorical perspective to writing. So we focus a lot on how to persuasively communicate to one another and hopefully teach you skills that transfer to lots of different contexts.
Thank you, Dr. Mando. Dr. Davis, please.
Hi, I'm Melissa Mullen Davis. I'm in the College of Science and Technology in the Department of Chemistry. I'm an assistant professor of chemistry, and I teach upper level courses in biochemistry and our general education courses for non-science majors. I also do some research in chemical education and in biochemistry.
Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate. And thank you again, students, for joining us. We are going to just discuss normal things that affect you, especially during this time of the year. Many students are very stressed out. Many students, feel like oh my gosh, finals are around the corner. I feel like I know nothing. And we are going to talk a little bit about all that. And our faculty are also going to share with you some things you can do right now to improve your grade. And so I'm going to throw out a question there, because right now it's about the resources that are available to you that you can utilize right now to help you get a better grade. And so the first question is, if you were to advocate for just one specific resource on this campus at this time for students, what would that be? Can we start with you, Melissa?
Sure. Sorry, it's kind of a zoo here at the moment with the dog and the children. I would say group study spaces. and maybe even course and interstudy spaces. So if you're taking chemistry, it's maybe a space and room for everyone taking chemistry can come and study together, right? Or lots of spaces with flexible seating or flexible work rooms or whiteboards where students can come and work together. Because when I ask the students who do well in my class, what's the one thing you would recommend? They all say, study with someone else, right? Not only is it accountability for showing up and doing the work, but it's kind of teaching each other is one of the best ways to learn and solidify that learning.
Awesome. Thank you. So group work at this time. Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Mando.
I was going to have a similar answer. I really feel like the other students are the best resource. I mean, yeah, getting in touch with your classmates and, going over the projects that you're completing, studying for the finals together. I mean, all of that, working together as a team is really a great way to do it. Even in the writing classes that I teach, I encourage my students to work together. I mean, they're not writing the same papers together, but they can share their ideas. They can share their recollections over what we've covered during the semester, and they can talk about what they see as the expectations of their professor, for how to succeed in the course. Because sometimes that's a little bit different from how some students perceive the outcomes of the class. They think, all right, well, what do I need to do to succeed? And when they discuss, what is it the professor is really looking for, they can figure out quite a bit. So I would recommend that. I also, have to advocate for the writing center too. So a lot of us are writing papers at the end of the semester here. You can reach out to the writing center for assistance there too.
Awesome. Thank you. Before we continue, can you all hear? Is the sound system okay? Especially students, please put it in the chats. Put a little, thumbs up if you're fine with the sound and everything. Okay, I just want to make sure that all of you are able to hear. Very good. Okay. Dr. Powers.
I think that definitely your peers, but also reach out to your faculty. I know, having been a student and also now currently a faculty member, that you may have different relationships with different faculty members, but they know how they're going to grade. They know what's on the final exam. They know, what the course objectives are. And so don't forget to reach out to your faculty if you're concerned or you have a question. I think that's a really good place to start as well. And then I'll just add one other resource, and that's the Writing Center. I have had students both work at the Writing Center and then also go to the Writing Center. So any of those tutoring programs. And one last thing I'm going to say, I know, Margaret, you asked for the number one, but don't hesitate to reach out to people like Margaret, your advisor, your peers. Get the support where you need it and where you can find it, because for almost every challenge there is a resource that you can touch base on campus, even the counseling center or librarians who can help you do your research. Whatever those issues you have, reach out and don't be afraid to ask for help, because I think I always have been a person who didn't want to seem like I would make a mistake. And I think that's how we learn. So, those are some resources you can tap
Wonderful.
into.
Thank you so much. Thank you for saying that, because a lot of times students just need to hear from someone that you've got this.
Yeah.
You can do this. And I had a student this morning. He was so worried about Math 101. And as we were talking, I told him, listen, I know you to be a good student. You've been working hard. You can do this. And by the time we finished talking, he felt a little bit better.
Mhm.
So find out people that you can talk to colleagues or peers, students that you are taking classes with, study together as you've had, and you just never know. Things may work to your favor. So my other question is this. What do you wish every student knew about finals, and especially our freshmen that have never taken a final at the college level? Let's start with you, Dr. Mando.
I think I would like them to know, I guess the thing that is important to realize about finals is that they're not meant to be a punishment or like or something that is like kind of something nasty, you know. It's like they're really there to just allow you to demonstrate what you've learned throughout the semester. And that's, I think when you look at it that way, it's like when the professors are like, look, I've been working hard to teach you things. I've been leading you to different discoveries of your own, you know, you're building your own intellectual growth through this class. You know, we're doing all this stuff together. And in the end is your opportunity to demonstrate that. So sometimes the demonstration does come with a lot of studying, and it does come with, you know, some really hard work at the end of the semester to do it. But it is your opportunity to really to shine in a way. And I think if you look at it that way, that you're demonstrating what you've learned, demonstrating what you've been working on, that maybe it'll be a little easier to handle.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Davis.
Yeah, really similar to Dr. Mando, that throughout, and I'm teach chemistry, so a lot of our finals are cumulative. But as I tell my students, right, the material is cumulative, and we work the whole semester to build biochemical and chemical intuition and learn material, and it grows and grows, and it's our chance to kind of celebrate and put in context everything that we've learned. It's absolutely not something we do to make students, you know, feel anxious. I don't want them to do that. I want them to be able to show me about how much work they put in and how much we've learned throughout the semester. And just the act of studying and taking some of these exams will help them learn and remember some of the material that they need for future courses or for future employment.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Powers.
I would say the thing I would like students to know about exams is there is a purpose, just as my colleagues have said, and that the test is not bigger than you. I think when I did have test anxiety at times when I was a student, and I think, you know, it's an opportunity to show what you know. And professors want you to do well, and they want you to be able to demonstrate what you've learned. So, you know, make sure that you study smarter, not harder, and that you have a grasp on what's relevant. You know, you can ask faculty about that and study with your peers. But I think that's important for you to know that, you know, you'll be okay, and do your best. And you know, don't take it as a time to lay down, because it's the last hurdle. You know, it's the last important thing to accomplish, and do your best.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Around this time, as we said earlier, you know, I have seen quite a number of emails from students, and some of them I can just tell that this student is panicking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they are just so stressed out. What are some of self-care strategies that students can practice so that they at least manage some of this stress? You know, what are some of those? And anyone can take this question, because self-care is very important. You can't do well if you don't take care of yourself first. You know, what are some of the things our students can do to take care of themselves first?
I can chime in if that's
Please.
Okay.
Sure.
Or Justin, did you want to?
No, please.
Okay. Well, I'll just start the ball rolling. I am a trained yoga teacher, and and I taught kindergarten. So those kids would get stressed out too, and they would forget to breathe. So I think your number one job is breathing. I mean, don't get hyper focused on it, but don't forget to breathe, especially when you're feeling anxiety. It's the number one thing you can do, to just follow your breath, inhale, exhale. And then added to that, take a walk sometimes, get outside, get some vitamin D, stand up and walk around. You know, if you have an Apple Watch or some kind of watch, they usually will remind you, or set a timer. You're going to sit for X amount of time and then get up and walk around, because, you know, your adrenaline is building up while you're studying. You may be stressed out, you're worried. You know, schedule in some breaks, get some exercise, and don't forget to breathe. Those would be 3, I would say. Justin, you can. Oh,
Very, very
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
No,
Go
I
ahead,
love that
Justin.
answer. And yeah, I also, I'm a frequent meditator, and I think like doing that kind of thing is really important. Taking 10 minutes to just sit down and follow your breath and, set things aside. That can really make a huge difference. It's kind of hard to make yourself do it, but when you do it, it really does pay off. It kind of seems silly, but it really isn't. So that's one thing. But I would also say, I mean, especially if you're feeling really stressed about, a particular exam or something, you might go back in your notes to the beginning of that course and just sort of try to try to recall what happened, what happened week by week. Look at the syllabus, look at the course schedule, look at your notes, and you'll be like, you know what, actually, I do remember a lot of this. I was there for this. Like I do have a pretty good handle on this material. I think you'll find that. So, if you're feeling that stress, taking kind of a stroll through the course that you've taken might be helpful.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Melissa.
I would just add, don't forget to sleep.
yes.
Yeah.
I think we get stressed out, and I'm guilty of this too. I over caffeinate. I don't sleep enough because I have to stay up to do the one more thing. When in reality, getting enough sleep, letting our brains rest, that helps our memory. And then we're ready to attack things when we wake up and go to the next task on our list, and we can be more efficient. Also, maybe consider some water instead of coffee, as I'm about to take another sip of coffee. It also help us have more energy and be ready for sleep, and kind of give our bodies, right, the best help it needs so that your brain can do all that work that you're asking of it to do.
Thank you. And wonderful strategies. Really, really appreciative. Taking a walk. You are in the library, you've been studying for 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, just standing up and stretching and taking a walk. If you're studying in the 6th floor, maybe going down, coming up, taking the stairs. When you come back, you can concentrate better than if you're just sitting there, because when your mind gets tired, then you start drifting from, or you start kind of drifting from what your lack of concentration and things like that. Again, very important. And we can't talk enough about sleep. And I thank you for mentioning that, because sleep is very important. And I know I talk a lot with my students, and I know a lot of times sleep time for most Millersville University students is around 1, sometimes maybe 12. Other people sleep at 2 p.m. or whatever time. And again, that's really a good strategy for you to be able to remember things. When you are so tired, you can't remember as such, because you're tired. And when you are so tired, your body just gets sick. You have a headache, and things like that. Again, very, very important strategies. Thank you so much. And again, Dr. Mando said, going back to what you've been learning, because, throughout the semester, you've been learning about different things. How, as you revise, how are these topics connected? And just doing the revision. Again, very important. I would like to ask you, because during this, as I've said, I'm an academic advisor, I'm not a teaching professor like you. And I know in your classes around now, you are seeing some students, that probably they've not been handing over the assignments, or maybe, just those issues. How are you handling students like that? To be honest.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sometimes, and a lot of times, if it's students working hard throughout the semester, and then things don't start turning in, or the student looks really anxious, it's usually there's something else going on in the students' lives that are also contributing to additional stress. And so I do try to reach out to students and say, I've noticed you're struggling. What's going on? Come talk to me. And there's we can have some flexibility, right? Up until we can't, but till let's talk through it. What are some alternative deadlines can we do? What do you suggest for you continuing engagement in the course? Things like that. We're here to help you. We want to help you, guide you through the end of the semester, and we want all of you to be successful. So if you do need something, or if the end is really hard, reach out to us, because sometimes there are things that we can do to help.
Awesome. Thank you. Any of you is free to take this.
I think I do. I would have to say I do the same thing. I think that, there's sometimes something going on in the background with a student that I need to connect with them and see, because we understand you're people first. I also try to provide extensions if possible, and supports, or maybe help connect students with resources on campus. I think the one thing, and this is from my own experience as a student, that if you start feeling yourself slipping, don't let that be the death knell of your entire academic experience. Reach out to your faculty, get support from your peers and your family. And, there is a way to recover, but you have to also, people can't read your mind. So it's important to, say, hey, I've had students who come to me and tell me some very difficult things that occur in their lives. And we're all people too, who have had longer lives than most students. So we understand that, things happen. And I think getting in a spiral of beating yourself up and then feeling like all is lost is not going to be helpful to you. So we all need to keep an eye out for those folks who are struggling, and try to be supportive, and if it's us, we may need to ask for help.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, because, we are all human at the end of the day. And it's just important we will talk a little bit about communication in a few minutes, but it's really very important for that, for students to be able to talk to their professors about some of the issues that may be affecting them, because if you don't share, the professor may never know. Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, I also wanted to really echo what my colleagues have said, which is, I think it is very important for faculty members around this time of the semester, even, a few weeks prior at least, to make sure that they stand up and say, hey, like, it's likely that people are going through hard times right now, and that it's okay. You need to take care of yourselves first. And, we have lots of resources on campus. And I always just make sure that they know that I am available to them if they need help getting connected to resources. I might not be the one who can help solve the problems, but I can at least help connect them to the people who can help them better. And I always try to keep myself open to that, so that students can reach out in those cases. I also think that it's, around this time of the semester, I do also encourage students to kind of assess for themselves where they're at in the course, and what they're looking to do in that final stretch. Like I'll take some time for them to do a short kind of reflective writing, at the beginning of class, to say, all right, what are your goals for the rest of the semester? Like, what is it that you can accomplish? What's standing in your way? And sometimes just to kind of articulate that in writing is a way to help them realize, like, okay, I do have challenges, but I can do this. Like, I have this goal, I can reach this. There is this thing in front of me, and maybe just writing it down and kind of acknowledging what exactly it is will help them get the support they need to get past it, or to realize that they have it within themselves to overcome that challenge.
Thank you so much for that contribution. Really very, very, very helpful. One thing that I know, like you have just said, Dr. Mando, is being able to use a planner, and coming up with goals for yourself. What do I want to achieve this week, just before finals next week? What do I want to achieve? And how can I get there? Who do I talk to? What do I do? Where do I go to study? And so on and so forth. Because if you don't plan, you don't have any goals that you're working with, you may find yourself wasting time. Thank you so much for that contribution. Now, my next question is a follow-up to what we just talked about. And someone talked about communication. I think it was Dr. Powers who said, you know, it's important for you as a student to communicate to your professors. I know that we have students that are so afraid of the professor that the idea that they are going to come to you, to them, is not visible. How do you encourage students to come to your offices during office hours, or even to just encourage them to ask questions, even in class?
I try to smile a lot. I don't really know. I'm not really sure what else to do. I mean, yeah, I just try to be as friendly as I can and just make it clear. I don't know how else to do it besides to be explicit. Like my door is always open. I'm always happy to talk to you. If you have issues you want to discuss, I'm here. You know, I frequently ask students about any questions, concerns, problems that they're having, and let them know that I'm, you know, open to that feedback. I mean, another way too is to do sort of like informal feedback where students can write feedback anonymously, not our normal like course evaluations, but an informal feedback that does give them an opportunity to maybe communicate something to you anonymously that they otherwise would be hesitant to do. But, yeah, so those are a few strategies that I use.
Awesome, thank you. Any of you, Dr. Powers or Dr. Davis?
I tend to.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Oh,
No, go
you
ahead.
can go.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, oftentimes, sorry, I share a little bit more about me and sometimes the struggles that I'm going through. So if I have a particularly stressful week or a lot going on, I'll try to make sure to share that with my students, and there's a little bit of solidarity, and then it might make me a little bit more approachable as I understand what they're going on. We can empathize.
Very good, thank you.
I would say the same things. I try to tap into that as well. Smile, be responsive. I really try hard to get to know my students personally and professionally so that, we have a good classroom community. I know that if you're a student, sometimes, it can be intimidating. So my tip would be, don't hesitate to reach out to faculty. I know, I've been intimidated by some of the teachers I've had in college, and those are the times, though, especially if I'm struggling in a class, if I've gone and talked to those faculty members, they go out of their way to be supportive of me and help me, as a student, when I was a student, to help me, if you show interest, the faculty will show interest back typically, because they're people too. And like I said, they can't read your mind. So don't assume that they know something about you unless you've had a conversation about it explicitly, because it's easy to just assume that, that they know something, or, they might be very serious when they teach, but they're actually very humorous people, but they're really trying to get a point across to you. So don't make assumptions about how you'll be received either. Just take courage and go and talk to those folks who you need help from or you have questions of.
One more thing. Oh, sorry, it came up.
Go ahead.
If you have a question about course content and you're intimidated to go by yourself, bring a friend.
That's a
or
great
bring someone
idea.
else from your class. Because either if you have a question, someone else does too, and then you might feel a little bit more confident or comfortable with someone with you. And I would absolutely always encourage that.
That's great.
Wonderful. And please put your questions on the chat. I know some of you may have some questions. Don't shy, just put your questions on the chat. I think we'll have enough time for our faculty to respond to those questions. So think of questions, put them in the chat, and we'll be able to, or they'll be able to see them. Thank you. Now, let's switch gears a little bit, because sometimes it's not just about preparing for finals or, thinking about finals. It's about thinking about the material the students are learning in the class and how they can apply that information even right now, or maybe in the future. How do you ensure that students are not just thinking about finals, they are thinking beyond finals, especially with the information they are learning in class?
I can start off there. One thing that I do is I really encourage them. So I'm teaching writing classes. So, really it's something that there's if the class ends at the final, I've really not done my job. You know, like they really need to be able to take these skills and translate them into other courses. And so I make sure that we talk about that specifically. I mean, I ask them, you know, to imagine next semester, you know, when you have a new project, how will you approach it? What will you use from this course to do that? I mean, and we just explicitly talk about that. I mean, you know, studies on learning show that when you reflect about the processes that you go through and you actively think about how you'll apply it into the future, that you'll be more likely to do that when you actually get to that situation. So I really just actively talk about that with them and get them to imagine those situations and, you know, think about, all right, well, what concepts have we learned in here? How might that be useful? Think about classes you're taking, you know, they've already got their schedule set for the spring. So, you know, what classes are you taking? How might you use this? What challenges might you face? You know, how can we draw from this particular assignment or this concept we learned about? So I try to make those connections pretty explicit, have them really consider them and imagine the future.
Awesome. Thank you.
I
Any
tell
of
my
you?
students the purpose of the assignments and what I'm trying to have them. I mostly teach advanced classes in our program areas. So we're at the application phase of learning. We're not just learning content, but we're applying things that they may have learned in other classes. So to me, I think those skills of critical thinking, application, synthesis, all of those things are good skills to learn. And then also I try to scaffold what goes on in my class to what's going to happen in the future classes, because I teach specifically our majors. When I teach a perspectives course in women in education pretty regularly. And when I teach those courses for all majors, I want them to critically think about history, about policy, about perspective, and how they make sense of the world. So I think that's what most of our courses really are, whether it's science or writing or education, or, you know, there really is a real world application for all of these contents that we're teaching, and also then some natural learning that occurs that you can transfer those skills to other things. I'm not a scientist, but I took biology and I took chemistry, and I learned about things that I engage in every day. I do write, but I'm not a writing teacher per se. But those skills that I learned as an undergrad have carried over into my entire life. So, you know, even if you think something's not applicable, you may be surprised. There'll be something you can use later and you'll go, oh yeah, there's a connection, you know. So that's my 2 cents on what that's all about.
Awesome. Thank you.
I think I agree with both my colleagues. And when I'm teaching chemistry, oftentimes we're teaching a course and there's a next course in a sequence. And I think Chem 1, Chem 2, or OChem 1, OChem 2. And we're really trying to set you up for success for the future class. So there's that to look forward to, and we try to highlight that when we teach. And when I teach my non-major courses, again, similar to Dr. Powers, just trying to share how it's applicable in our daily lives. So right now we're talking about how chemistry is important in food and cooking. And so seeing that kind of, I think, can help put some reason behind why we're learning what we're learning.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That is really important, because it's not just about finals. And as I always like to tell my freshmen, whom I am always working with, you know, in high school, a lot of times it's about remembering information so that they can be able to do the exams and finals, you know, just remember, forget, come to college and move on. But at the college level, it's not just about remembering the information. It's about being able to, you know, really analyze it and apply it in different situations. And that is so important, especially, you know, when they choose classes and it's the first day of the semester, they meet the professor, and the professor again emphasizes that, you know, this is not about the finals. This is about using this information maybe in a future situation, or maybe as a prerequisite to other classes. You know, so this information is very important, and it's not ending with the final at the end of this semester, the concepts are going to be repeated maybe later in a different class. Again, very, very important. My next question is about maintaining connection. The class is done, finals have come, they've gone, a student has a certain grade. How can they continue maintaining that connection they created with you in that class, even in the future, as students in Millersville, just as an example?
I would say if I'm at work, my door is usually open. Say hi, right? Even if it's just a quick wave when going to talk to another professor, right? I'd love to hear from students and see students that I've had in the past and see what they're up to. If you're out and you're taking another class, or you've graduated and you're at work and something reminds you about something that we said in class, let us know. We love to hear from students, even after you've graduated and moved on. Those are some of my favorite emails to get, even if it's just to say, hi, hey, remember I used this biochemistry in my job, right? That's one little aspect of it. Please do that. It's wonderful for us when we get that, and we will absolutely remember who you are.
Very important.
Yeah, and you don't have to get an A in our class for us to think you're a great person. I think I certainly didn't get an A in every single one of my classes. I got some, but I don't think faculty as much remember the grade as much as the interactions that they've had with you. And we're always happy. Once you're our student, you're always our student, unless I always tell my students at the end of a class, you're stuck with me unless you don't want to be, because you have the option to walk away and never email me or talk to me. But again, I keep my door open, and I love the emails. I have some posted on my bulletin board over here. I got an email, I got a Facebook post actually from one of my former kindergarten students who was teaching in my kindergarten class that we had together. And she said, I couldn't be the teacher I was if I didn't have you in this classroom, or I'll go out because I'm in education. I'll see Millersville alum mentoring our students. And I'm sure all of you who are faculty here may have run into that at some point as well. So stay in touch with your peers too, because I'll tell you, you can get jobs, you can meet your future partner or spouse, you can have good friend group. I mean, once you're a part of this network, you're a part of this family, and you love some of your family members more than others, but don't hesitate to reach out, especially to faculty. We love hearing from former students, and I've written references and helped people pick grad schools and celebrated their babies, whatever. We love it. We really do eat that stuff up.
Yeah, I think I love those suggestions. I would say also a lot of faculty members have, we have lives outside of the classroom that are kind of like public lives where we're connected to different volunteer organizations. We have issues that we're passionate about. We have clubs that we participate in with, on campus or in the community. So a great way to keep in touch with professors is to see what kind of things they're interested in, because likely it's connected to the class that you've taken and you might share that interest. I have a student who's going to be participating in, I'm a part of a nonprofit organization that does environmental work here in the lower Susquehanna area, and I have a former student who she's graduated and since gone off into the workforce, but she's going to come back and do some volunteering for this organization. I can't wait to see her. So, like those types of things are just wonderful connections to make, and, look for the extracurricular stuff that your faculty members are doing. You can join in too.
Wonderful.
I keep jumping in at the end. We've also invited some alumni back to give talks in our department and interact with students. And so there's some networking possibilities there where you can give back and still interact with the faculty, but also with the current students. So things to keep in mind.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So that is really important to know, because I'm sure faculty members cannot say you are coming to my office too many times. No, I don't think that can happen. And so the point here is try as much as you can to make connections with your faculty member or your professor, because, you know, the more familiar they are with you, as Dr. Davis said earlier, the more they know you and the more they can, you know, even email you or say to you, you know, what's going on. You know, I am noticing that, you know, something is not right, because they know you very well. I think it's really very, very important for you to make those connections and to really, again, know that your faculty members, the professors that are teaching you, are here to support you and to help you be successful in your academics and in every other way. Again, we are still waiting for questions, but we'll continue with our discussion. So what is your desired outcome at the end of every semester? What would you like to see, or do you like to see?
I've got an answer to that one. Anyone else want to go first?
Go ahead, Dr. Mando.
Okay, I mean, I have, you know, every class has its outcomes, but for me, you know, and we kind of like have like, this is what you do to pass, this is what you do to, you know, to get a decent grade in the course. But I mean, what I'm really looking for is I like to find students who have taken on their own personal learning challenges within my class. Like I try to set up my courses so that there is a pretty standard way to get through it, but there are also lots of opportunities for students to say, you know, I really want to learn this, or like, you know, it's this thing and I want to challenge myself a little bit further. I want to, like, there's this, I have a goal for myself. I have my own learning goal, and, you know, help me reach it. When I have those students, those ones who have pushed a little further, they came into the class strong, but they identified something that they wanted to improve in, and they actually have managed to do that. I mean, that to me is what it's all about. I love that.
Wonderful, thank you.
I find that a lot of times I teach courses, either the general education for non-major courses or my upper level courses where it's a requirement for someone's major, but they might not necessarily have chosen to take my class in chemistry or biochemistry. And I want them to leave with an appreciation or enthusiasm for my field or our topic, right? I want them to see the chemistry in their lives, or sit down for Thanksgiving dinner and say, hey, guess what's in that olive oil that you just ate, right? So that's what, I mean, yes, there's material we would hope that the students learn by the end of the semester and have biochemical intuition, but at the end of the semester, the appreciation, and to kind of see how the material affects their lives. And we talked about that before, but that's what I really want them to get out of by the end.
It's hard to top either, or there's not much to add after what you both said, but I hope that my students walk out having learned something, having had a big aha, having developed more passion for the topic and for their relationship to it. I know students care about grades. I know that. I did too. I care about them having a good learning experience, and you know, I try to grade fairly. I try to, you know, make it clear what the criteria is. But I also, you know that I get a 3-month opportunity, 15-week opportunity to help deepen their thinking, expand their skill set. And I really want that. I mean, of course, I hope that they think I'm a great teacher. But, you know, my goal is for them to have a good experience and to learn things and to develop skills and be the best they can be.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So helpful. I would like us to talk about something a lot of students have no idea about, and that is an incomplete grade. At what time do you give an incomplete? Especially for freshmen that are here, because I can see we have some freshmen.
Yeah.
At what time do you give an incomplete? And what is that even?
So I guess I can try. And an incomplete means that you coordinate with your professor and you have additional time to complete material for the course. And each professor, I think, has a different idea of when they would give an incomplete or when they would not. For me, it's not a way for students who maybe stopped engaging early on. It's not extra time to catch up and then finish everything up quickly in the next couple of months. Although I think you can have significant amount of time. The deadline is, I'm not quite sure about that. For me as a professor, if something happens at the end of the semester, if you get sick, if there's an emergency, you have to miss the final exam, I can help you by granting an incomplete, and we can schedule a time to take that last bit that you needed. And so if there truly is something happening at the end, deep breath, there's something that we can do. But in my courses, if it's been where there's a lot of late work throughout the semester, it's not meant to be, oh, we'll just spread everything out over several months. It's really like, oh, we missed the final or the last exam, and this is a way that can give extra time to accommodate.
Yeah, that's really, the policy is that, yeah, it's just for a medical emergency or some kind of personal difficulty. If, you know, somebody's phoning it in all semester, it's not a good solution, because they turn into Fs eventually. And I forget the specific amount of time, but also if you do get an incomplete, you should follow up with the faculty member, because we are super busy, and it's not that we don't care, but it's not our responsibility. And even if, you know, there is no way that all the details that we have to juggle, that, you know, we do get reminders if there's an incomplete and that it will turn into an F, but really you've got to advocate for yourself. You've got to follow up. And Dr. Mullen-Davis is correct. Each faculty member may interpret that policy slightly differently. So, you know, you can't count on an incomplete as a solution. You can request, you can, I'm probably a little bit too much of a softie because I realize life happens, but you know, I've had students who turn in no work and then say, can I get an incomplete? And it's like, well, where have you been this entire term, right? But if somebody who's been consistently turning up and showing care, and then all of a sudden I don't see them, I reach out and I say, what is going on? Are you okay? And I need them to communicate, and then also be responsible and follow through. I mean, I just can't say enough about that, because it will turn into an F eventually.
Yeah, another important thing to remember about incompletes is that, and I guess this may differ depending on the faculty member, but the way I understand it is that they should be able to be completed without additional instruction from the faculty member. So that means that if you get an incomplete, you really need to make sure you get all the materials off of D2L, everything that you need, get all the instructions, assignment sheets, get all that figured out before the semester ends, that you're taking the incomplete. Because when a student comes back to me, you know, months later and says, hey, I want to finish that incomplete, could you please explain this assignment? And I don't have this sheet and I need this rubric and all that. I say, well, you know, look, that's not how the incomplete really works. Like, you're asking me to like instruct you again, and that's really not the deal. It really is that you should be able to finish the course with just more time, not more instruction.
Very, very good. Thank you so much, because I get so many questions from students that have no idea what that is. And some of the students have very genuine, you know, reasons as to why they need that. You know, something may have happened towards the end of the semester that now they can't just do the finals. And so an incomplete is helpful in that way. But again, as our faculty have said, you have to be proactive as the student, you know, to do the work. And at that point, you are basically using the notes that you have from the D2L or maybe from the textbook, but you have to complete the assignment so that you can be able to get the grade. Again, very, very important. And we are almost wrapping up. I still don't see any questions, but I think we've really covered some good information. I would like to give you just a minute to give the parting shot. Next week we have the finals for students, and I am so grateful for the ones that have joined us today, and even for the ones that are going to watch this video. What are your parting shots for the students that are here today?
Sorry, Margaret, could you repeat that? I think I missed it. My internet.
Yeah, what are your last words? What is your parting shot?
Yeah, I got it. I like that, cutting short. That's good.
Do you want to start, Beth?
I
I'm
wanted to
having
go
a hard time
last, but
thinking of one.
I'll say this,
It's,
believe in
it's,
yourself.
what are
Don't-
your final
Yeah,
thoughts?
yeah, so don't
Final
hesitate
thoughts.
to ask for help if you need it. Don't get inside your head and start beating yourself up and say coulda, shoulda, woulda. Be your own cheerleader, be your own advocate, and take care of yourself. So don't forget to sleep and eat healthy food. I know Cheetos is my final exam go-to sometimes, but also eat a meal. And believe in yourself. This is a learning journey. It's not a one and done. So really take care of yourself, believe in yourself, and don't hesitate to ask for help if you need it, because we're here.
I guess I would say, remember to breathe, take time to, take care of yourself, breathe and sleep. And you can do this. And if, let's say, the worst happens and things don't go very well, it'll be okay, right? Reach out to faculty. We're here. We only want the best for you. And we can help. Surround yourself with people, faculty, students, family, friends, hit people in your class to really have a support group, and do your best, and you got this.
Yeah, very, very good advice. I would also say you should, this is maybe a little more specific, but make sure you look really carefully at the instructions, the assignments, all those things that you're finishing up. You might have different, sometimes they grow beyond what is actually required. And you might think, I need to know everything that we learned this entire semester, but sometimes the final exam is not that broad, and really the instructions will make it clear. So we got to just make sure that you take that moment to just be sure that what you're doing is what's expected. Look again at those instructions, look again, talk to your classmates, make those connections with one another. And of course, all of those things that my colleagues have said about taking care of yourself is supremely important.
I have one question from a student. Can you please share with us one study strategy that you have personally used when you are in high school? I mean, when you're in college.
Great question. I'll jump in real quick. So when I had to do 48 hours writing exam in my doctoral program, and I wasn't allowed to use resources. So the way I prepared was I would walk my dogs and I would make up songs like this theorist is, they did that, or you can use flashcards. And another one is this Pomodoro method I looked up while I was preparing for this today, and I see people nodding. So if you want to share what that is, I've talked a bit. So
one thing I like to do is I keep notes for each project paper I write or something, and I'll just have a notes document on my computer where I just sit down and I say it's kind of a journal. I just say all right, I'm sitting down to study for this exam now, or I'm trying to write this thing. And I just sort of let my thoughts go and just sort of outline what I'm doing. And it allows me to kind of come back to it a little more quickly. It also sometimes helps me just write through some of my anxieties about these projects that are, impending on us.
So I've used the Pomodoro method when writing. Set a timer for 25 minutes, work, and then take a 5-minute break. And then come back and start over. Giving your brain a break is really important. In chemistry or some of the sciences or math, practice problems. All the practice problems without your notes. Really, you have to use try brain. Just the act of trying to remember can help you remember. If you run out of practice problems in your group, make up practice problems for each other. Change the numbers, right? All of those. So all the practice problems.
you can even make up games too. You can make up flashcards and play Go Fish, or everybody's going to learn a little differently. So figure out how you learn. And you may even have to study differently for different exams. If you have a writing exam, you have to, figure out the grammar, the syntax, the meaning, the flow. If you have you just heard how to study for a chem exam, and you may have different things that you need to do differently for different classes, but I think it's really important to take breaks too. Just like Melissa said, your brain can only do so much for so long. and don't procrastinate. Don't stay up until 5 a.m. the night before. Oh, and get there early. I read that as a tip. Get there early. I used to run in like the last minute, like, because I was studying, and then I'd be like, having an apple in one hand and be like, oh my gosh, I gotta get in here. And then I'm stressed and I can't be calm to focus, right? So, make sure you build in those things that, are gonna work for you.
If you have a timed exam, set a timer for your homework. So it kind of can mimic some of that situation.
Very good. I just want to thank you so much, but I'm going to have Dr. Godino give a vote of thanks. I just want to say that Dr. Powers had a PowerPoint that she had wanted to share. She's going to email
She's
that
got
to
some
me,
tips. Yeah.
and I will share that with all of you. I'll get your emails and I'll share that information with all the students that attended today. Dr. Ann Godino, thank you.
Thank you, Margaret, Dr. Powers, Dr. Mando, Dr. Mullen Davis. What a treat it was to have all of you today and the many words of wisdom that you shared. So we thank you, and we certainly wish all the students who are seeing this both now live, and we also know that quite a few of you will see the recording of this. We wish you the best on your finals as you move forward. Our academic resilience series will continue in January, and I'd suggest if you haven't done so, mark your calendar because there's some really, really great sessions. The first one will be on Thursday, January 26th at 12 noon. It will take place by Zoom as well. And of course, it will be announced in the MVille Daily. So again, so many thanks to everyone, and we wish you the best for your finals as well as for your winter break. Take care.